Okay, everyone. I'm here with Jeremy King. He is our technology coordinator here at Spanish Fort High School. And thank you, Jeremy, for taking your time to speak with me today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and for my assignment, I was to contact you and ask you your top 10 challenges as a technology coordinator.
Okay. Well, let me tell you that let's start by just getting a little understanding of what my job is so that it'll make this make a little more sense to you.
Okay.
Um, Across the state of Alabama, there are a couple of different types of technology coordinators that are out there. So, in a small system such as, say, Thomasville City, we'll just take a pick there, their technology coordinator may also be something else. Satsuma, for example, excuse me, not Satsuma, but Saraland, I believe it is. Their technology coordinator is also their person that's in charge of for their lunch program. So lots of technology coordinators across the state have different levels of what they do and what their assignments kind of are and what they handle. In Baldwin County, we're more like a Mobile County or Shelby County. We have kind of a tiered setup. I actually work for the chief technology officer. He is actually our person that's in charge of technology for the district, if you will, on the global scale. Um, Under him, there's a couple of coordinators, and my particular responsibilities are more of what you seem to be asking about. They're in the levels of technology planning for the district. They're in the areas of E-rate finance. That's a lot of what I handle. Instruction into the classroom, professional development, dealing with teachers using technology, and also I'm over the break fix technicians. So the guys that actually and girls that actually come in and out of the schools and do repair fall under my department under this division. So it's a little bit different when I talk about some of my problems because some technology coordinators may tell you one of the number one issues they have is dealing with infrastructure, what's actually going into the classroom, providing you with wireless. And while that is something that I do struggle with and kind of participate in, that actually falls under a different coordinator because it is such a intricate, very specialized thing that for a district our size, you have to have one person that's mostly what he gets his fingers all into because he has to know what's going on with that. So it's a little bit different. So some of the challenges you might hear from me are going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
So I'll list out for you some of the challenges that I do have, and I don't know if I have 10 total in there, but
Okay.
I'll just kind of enumerate them out for you. Probably the number one thing that I work with or struggle with is being able to get teachers to use technology with their students correctly. Technology it's a pencil. Technology is a piece of scissors. It's a laser beam. It's a whatever it's a printer. It's a computer. Technology is not just what we think about in the terms of like this MacBook that I'm talking to you on. What you've got to get teachers to understand, and it's a big part of the professional development part of it, is that you use it to teach based on teaching strategies. I'm a teacher. That's where my background comes from. I'm not a technology person. I happen to be good with technology, took classes in college in technology, happened to be at the right place at the right time when computers were coming into schools, at that time, and it was a new thing. You got to play with them, that kind of stuff. That's my background. I didn't actually go to college to work on computers. What I did was study to teach English, which if I had to do right now, I probably couldn't do anymore. I'd have to work back at it. But what you have to do with understanding is any kind of teaching is figure out how this tool helps you. I'm a big advocate of student-based or student-centered instruction, and so trying to get teachers to understand how to use that, because we kind of have this all or nothing mentality in education. We get shown a new bright ribbon and we chase that ribbon for a while, and we really go after it, and we kind of wholesale everything out for that. And I think that's what some people view technology as, is just sell everything that you're used to using and forget all your teaching practices and just go use that technology. And that's not the case. There are times in which teachers need to just do direct instruction. I mean, there's just going to be a time when you just have to impart information the way we've always done it. But the problem is if you do that all the time, you have disengagement of students. They're not engaged. I mean, we can tell by looking at graduation rates, by, in education in classroom, just watching your kids. Some of them fall asleep on you where you're trying to teach, and if you don't have a better way to get them involved, you're going to lose them. Gifted academically kids are going to do well. They're going to do well if you give them a pencil, a book, a piece of paper, a rock, some scissors. They're going to do well, and they will do well using technology as well. But you've got to be able to get all kids engaged. And one of the big things that my professors always told me was, if you can get a kid engaged, you can teach them something. So getting them engaged is a huge piece, and getting teachers to understand that's how you use the technology, is to give them projects, to broaden their world, to make things more than just about what the one teacher in the classroom knows. We don't know everything as teachers. We don't want to admit that a lot of times, but we don't. And we are able to broaden these kids' horizon by doing that. So really my number one thing that I concern myself with at all times is education. What are the students learning? How are the teachers teaching? I'm a nerd about it. That's what I study. That's what I like to do. I read books about it. I surf the internet, do things with it. I love talking about it. I get into Facebook arguments. Got into one this weekend about this type of instruction versus traditional instruction. And I think that is where people are trying to draw the line. They're trying to say this is traditional instruction, this is non-traditional, and you can't have anything in between. And that's not the case. You're going to have to, as a teacher, be in charge of your classroom and decide which type of instruction to use it which way. And that's what I spend most of my time worrying about. Now, in addition to that, to be able to do those things, you've got to have equipment. You've got to have the actual technology. Here I have spent 5 minutes telling you how the technology is not important, but it is. You have to have it to be able to do these things. So it's the key that unlocks the door for the kids to go through. So to keep all that running is a key piece of what I deal with. So a lot of plans go around, what's the device that's out there? How do we use that device? How do we keep that device running? How are we going to fund that device? What are the things that we're going to do to be able to keep this going forward? I'm device agnostic. I'm talking to you on a Mac. I have a Mac at home, have a PC at home that's a little bit older that I play with all the time. I use for different things. I don't really care. I use iPads, Google devices. I'm agnostic to it. So as long as it's internet accessible and you can get some information of it, do some word processing, spreadsheet, things like that, make movies, hey, I'm all good with it. So that device selection is another one of my issues, and making that go forward and keeping it working. Those two haunt me the most. Funding is always an issue, and part of my job is to do E-rate. And I believe in some of your specific questions you asked me about E-rate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me take a second to show you something here.
Okay.
We're not the most dependent on E-rate in the world. We do use E-rate a lot, but other districts use a lot more than we do. And this is 1 year's worth of E-rate. It's not complete. This is last year's that I'm still working on. So this is the type of paperwork it takes to work in technology. Right. You would think we'd be more, tone to technology, but this is E-rate. This is last year. Currently, just for this year, this is what I'm working on. And E-rate, basically what it is a federally funded, set aside amount of money that comes from the FCC. It's a tax that I believe comes through Universal Service Charge. If you look on your phone bill, you'll probably find it on there. Mm-hmm. They use that to try to get technology to schools, and what it's about is getting infrastructure to schools, really. It's about it was about getting everything before you got to the computer. It was about getting the switches that you guys probably never even, if you went to your school right now, I don't know, maybe you could, I doubt any teacher could really point to me and say, that's my switch and this is what I do with it. But if it didn't work, they'd have a major issue because none of it would work. They couldn't get on the internet, the computers wouldn't connect correctly. But those switches are expensive and it takes a lot of funding to keep them, updated. And so E-rate helps us do that. Every year we apply for it. There's no guarantee that you will get it, but you apply. It's based on your free and reduced amount. So for example, we're a 70% funded district, which means 70% of whatever we purchase through E-rate, using E-rate dollars is covered. 30% is up to us to cover. There are districts in Alabama that are 90%, that they only pay 10% of what it costs for the technology. The rest of it's funded by this federal government program.
Right. I also wanted you to just kind of give our audience an idea of what the technology is in terms of our teachers and our students. What technology do they have?
Sure. In our classrooms here, we have, we call it ubiquitous wireless. So every school has wireless access in all points. So cafeterias, classrooms, some gymnasiums, we get pretty good coverage in. But it's pretty much everywhere. And all students have a device. K2 students have iPads. 3 through 12 have MacBooks, and they take them home. There's some discussion about whether or not they should be take home next year, and I think they're still in the decision phase on that for the K6. But I believe 7 through 12 will remain take home. So that's pretty much what our students have on a given day.
Okay. All right, and so I want to go back to your first point, if that's okay. Okay. You said you were talking about teachers using technology correctly.
Yes.
What do you do? A lot of the class that I'm in, our professor, Dr. Lewis, stresses how students learn one way and adults learn a different way. So I know you were mentioning how you study this and this is what you do. What are some strategies that you do that kind of cover the teaching the teachers, the adults,
Okay.
about the technology? What are some things that you're interested in?
Well, one of my favorite programs that I'm actually a certified instructor for is a program called EMINS. It stands for Enhancing Missouri's Instructional Network Teaching Strategies, if I remember correctly. But basically, it's a program developed by the University of Missouri, and that a lot of Missouri schools use. And we're one of only 2 sites in Alabama. We were the first in Alabama actually to use it. And what we do is we bring teachers in for 2 years at night, 4 hours a night. Imagine taking a grad school class for 2 years, same class, 4 hours a night, twice a month. That's basically what it's like.
Yeah.
And we bring them in and we train them in how to use technology in their classroom. It consists of 4 quadrants, and of course, I'm sitting here trying to think of it on the fly. They are being powered by technology, inquiry-based learning, community, and there's a fourth one that's slipping me right now. But basically, you teach the teachers how to build a community in their classroom, how to create cooperation and collaboration, how to use the instructional technology that you have and when to use it and when to use other traditional methods. And then you teach them how to do more of a student-centered inquiry-based some project. A lot of people throw the term project-based learning around a lot, and they don't really know kind of what they mean by project-based learning. It's a fairly difficult thing, and you can get on the Buck Institute and really read about it, and they'll really go into very specific what is project-based learning. But anytime the students are centered on them, they're finding the information, it's going to be a much more in-line thing to do. They're going to be more involved with it. I should say, I'm kind of saying that like it's an absolute. There are students who struggle with that because they've been, from a young age, if they can tell you back what you told them, they get a star, they get an A. That's what we do in education. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, really, there are students that do learn that way. We got to address them. But what we've done in education for a long time is address them and not address the other students. So just like your professor's saying, there are different ways that people learn. Adults different from children, you different from me. I'm actually a ex-special ed kid. I spent 4 years in the special ed program during my time from 4th through 8th grade, and struggled quite a bit with school. Just really, really struggled with it. Now I have a master's degree. So it just depends on how you approach the learning and how you approach that student. Certain teachers were able to approach me and teach me in different ways than what they were teaching the rest of the class. Made all the difference in the world. So that's why I'm such an advocate for it, because I see that kid that needs that. So we do concentrate on that. That's one program we use. We have taken the proponents of that and kind of sprinkled it into some other trainings we do. But what we generally concentrate on is making that classroom more of a student-centered classroom.
All right. So, any other on your top 10 list? I know you don't have 10, but any other ones you can think of?
Probably. I'm trying to think of things that, as I thought about this, that really keep me up at night, worried about stuff. And honestly, it is coming down to where I'm concerned about the educational status that we're in. What are we teaching our students? How are we teaching them? And if we're going to continue to be okay with what we're getting, then we can continue to do what we've always done. I'm not saying that the technology is always going to be the right way to do it, but if we've been working without it and not seeing a lot of results, let's give it a try and see what we do. With our EMINS classes, we're seeing good results. We're seeing teachers saying, hey, if nothing else, these kids can think. And when it gets time for me to teach them, they react in a way that's totally different. They're beginning to think about what I'm saying to them and think for themselves. And that's ultimately what we want to see. Now, we've had the program in place about 6-7 years now. We've only trained about 100 teachers in a district that has, 1,000, 1,500 teachers. So it's a small dent, but what we're noticing is those kids, as they're moving on, they're looking back and telling that teacher, gosh, I really enjoyed it in your class. I got to think, I got to be the creator and the owner, and I remember the things we talked about. And that's what's going to be key. There was an article that went around on Facebook this weekend talking about memorization and how basically kids can't remember anything anymore because they're multitasking and they're doing these things. And to me, that's the kids using the technology in the wrong way. And they need someone to guide them. We can't just say, oh, here's the technology, go at it. That's the point of the teacher. They're supposed to help them guide and how do you use it. And one of the tricks that the trainers that worked for me told me today was she called lid to fist. And I kept thinking, lid to fist, what are you saying? And she's literally putting her fist on the computer here and pulling the lid down to it. So what she's saying to the kids is, hey, it takes too long to boot this thing back up or to log back in. I don't want you to close it down or to shut the lid. I just want you to get it where I can tell you're paying attention to me while I'm talking, and I'm going to do some instructing. Then you can open it back up and get your work done. So it negates all that multitasking they're doing while you're instructing.
Right.
It's kind of an interesting thing, but that's what's new in my brain right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to take any up more of your time. Any other last thoughts for us in our technology classes?
Yeah. You're talking about the class you're taking and your fellow students?
the coordinating technology.
Yeah, I can tell you that right now we're sitting at a very interesting time. I see teachers that are coming out of college themselves that are struggling with how to use this tool because they understand how to use it as a tool for themselves, how to personally use it, Facebook, finances, check their email, go do their banking online. They don't see how students can connect to it. And that's just a different way of looking at it because they assume, well, the kids just like to check their Facebook or play video games. And they do. Don't ever think they don't. They love that. But they also like learning in this way for a majority of them. It gives them a different way of looking at things. Everybody, I don't care who you are, and you can tell that I'm this person by the amount of time I've talked before each question, everybody wants to create and share with you. They want to show off what they can do. And students are no different. They want to be able to create, take the learning that they've had and turn it into something that they can show off, whether it's painting a poster to hang outside the classroom or whether it's making a movie through iMovie. They want to show that off. And by learning to do that, harness that power, getting their interest, you can get things taught to these students. They really will get involved. You just have to know how to reach them through this technology.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I will definitely be contacting you again if I have another assignment like this. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.